Welcome to Martini Time, the happy hour, the happy time of the day. So, let's see what my little frog will bring up in the pond of the unconscious. So, as Jackie Gleason said, how sweet it is. Remember him? I think that was metaphorical in the sense that he would drink coffee cup, have a coffee. Oh, how sweet it is. I'm sure it wasn't coffee, but also metaphorically he was talking about life, how sweet it is. So let's talk about my artifacts, as I have been doing, talking about the artifacts that I've collected along my way. And since I talked about my father's Dragon Zippo lighter the other night, go back and watch that. Well, by the way, you can see all of these talks on my YouTube account, Ed Conley at YouTube. It'll come up, Martini Time. Just type it in and see what happens. So I want to talk about my father's watch. Of course, it's reversed. But on the back it says EGC. Edwin Gus Conley. I'm a junior, so I get to claim that. And every day at 5 o'clock, I set it at 5, no matter what time it is. I set my father's watch at 5, and then I put it down here so I can check my time. I don't want to talk over 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes is my discipline, you see. Otherwise, if I don't have that discipline, I just run on for an hour. Okay, so this watch, an Elgin silver watch, was given to my father when he graduated from Annapolis in 1929 by his grandmother, Gussie. That's where the middle name came from. I forgot exactly what her full name was, but she was from Germany, and she came on a sailing ship when she was 19 from Germany around Cape Horn, South America, all the way up to San Francisco. And she married a gold prospector who struck it rich, and they divided the money, and he went his way, and she went to Idaho and bought property, boarding houses, which were equivalent to motels then, boarding houses. And she rescued my father, whose father was a silver miner in Colorado, and he was injured and was in poverty. So she went down and rescued my father and took him back to Idaho and raised him. So he was raised by his grandmother, or his grandmother, this wonderful German girl who is quite adventurous. Apparently, I never met her. But anyway, this is where the watch came from. His graduation present. And if you notice, when I watch British mysteries, particularly, Victorian mystery like Sherlock Holmes, all the men have they have a pocket watch, and they have the gold across their vest, where they have their pocket watch so they don't drop it. And that's a good thing, because you drop this, that's it. I know, I did it once. I had this restored. When my father died, I got this watch, and I had it restored, and $300 to restore it. And then I had it in my pants watch pocket, and actually I was teaching a yoga class at community college, and I was wearing I put on sweats for the class, so I had my pants over there on the counter, and I had to go to the bathroom and put on my pants. I picked it up, and of course it was upside down, and the watch fell on this hard floor, and I had to get it restored again. So I don't carry it around now. I keep it here on my shelf. Very carefully I pick it up, and I use it to time my talks. So I'm on my father's time when I do this, and I begin to really get into the meaning of watch. See, we don't have these we don't have to wind our time now. It's all digital. It's on batteries, whatever, and just we don't have to hold it. We don't have to touch time. We don't have to be in control of it. I mean, when this is your time, you have to wind that watch every day. If you forget, it's wound down, you see. So you have to physically create time. And this is a beautiful metaphor that we've lost today because time is everywhere. We think we are in time. But time is an invention of the industrial age and the mechanical clock, you see. Before that, how did you tell time? Well, the sun rose, the sun set. How many moons is it, you see? So you told time by nature, but there wasn't the sense of time we have now. Now time is all encompassing. Now time is, we have too much time. We don't have enough time. I need more time. I had too much time. I could use better use of my time. I don't have any time at all. Do you have the time? Can I get some time for you? Even to the idiocy of daylight saving time. Like we gain an hour and lose an hour. Really? You see? So we have this idea now that time is measurable. It actually exists. And we live in it so that we feel that we're dictated by time. Oh, I got to go. I don't have enough time. And I'm getting older. I'm running out of time. Oh, my God. You see. It's the whole idea that we are controlled by the watch, which is which is just a mechanical sundial. Basically, it's where the clock was invented. It's a mechanical sundial it's portable time. So sundials, you don't have to put them out in your garden, and it's kind of like a temple. It's there. I guess they told time by Stonehenge. I talked about that one night, you see. So the pocket watch, the wrist watch, and now the digital watch, and now on your cell phone or computer, who needs a watch? Now you just look at your cell phone and it tells you what time it is. So the cell phone is a watch, you see. And we're always noticing the work. I was watching 2.5 Men. I watched these reruns. This is the third time I've gone through the reruns of 2.5 Men. And one of the things, the kid, I forget his name, he said when he sits in class and just stares at the wall, and his father says, well, why do you stare at the wall? And he says, well, that's where the clock is. So if you try to watch time, it slows down, you see. In other words, so I'm always kind of curious about our investment in time and what this metaphorically means to me, you see. Because even though I've been talking 7 minutes now, even though I time my talk, I'm really in a timeless space here. My favorite story of my mother that I tell over and over again, who at 100 was still driving, and we were going someplace, and she said, we were talking about happiness, and she said, why I'm so happy? And I said, why, Mom? And she was happy. And she lived to be 102. And she said, I have no future. Pause. And then she said, well, when I was younger, I had a future, and I wasn't so happy. But substitute time for future, you see. So I'm happy because I have no time. When I was younger, I had time, and I wasn't so happy. So time, our consciousness of it, you see, is the cause of our suffering. The moments when we are free from time, and we all know these moments, is when we're not conscious of ourselves having a good time. Right there. You see how we use it? Are you having a good time? Well, as soon as you ask yourself, am I having a good time? You're not. Because now you're outside of yourself looking at time. You see. But when we are timeless, we're not outside of ourselves. When we're timeless, we're not observing ourselves to see how we're doing. When we're timeless, we're not measuring ourselves against some other ideal, you see. We're not measuring ourselves against some ideal of what I should be. Or we're not measuring other people against what they should be in the past or the future. So we're constantly measuring the present moment by an artificial time, past and future. The past is what we know. The future is unknown. But we measure the timeless present moment by time, which is past or future, you see. And so we miss the mark. So we miss the mark because we're telling time. Now Zen says, the Zen masters say, you're not in time, you are time. Whoa, that changes everything. It's kind of like you're standing on the bank of the river of time, and you're watching time go by, and you're measuring it. Oh, I'm 82, so there's 82 years. And then ahead I got, maybe I'll live to be 100 like my mother, so there's 12 years there. Oh, wait a minute, 10? Yeah, okay. 12 years. Is that right? Good, 90 to 100. I got 12 years left. Or maybe, wait a minute. No, 82 to 90. No, forget it. I have no future. So, the point is, when you're standing on the riverbank and looking at the river of time, you see, you're not in the river. All right? You're standing on the bank, objectively. You've pulled yourself out of the moment, which is the river. You pulled yourself out of the river, and now you are standing outside of time. But who is it that's standing on the riverbank? It's nobody. Because all there is the river, you see. But our human consciousness is a beautiful thing. It can abstract ourselves from time and then measure ourselves. And then judge ourselves. How are we doing now? How are you doing? Have you measured up to what you're supposed to be? Are you better than others? Worse than others? You see, that measuring mind, that calculating mind, is the time-bound mind. So you're standing on the river looking at time, caught between the contradiction of being in time and out of time. In other words, we know we're in the present moment of life, and yet when I abstract myself out of that and start looking at myself, I've divided myself into two me's. There's the me in time, in this moment, and there's the me looking at it. That's two. So who am I now? I can't be. Am I this? Am I in the river? Am I in the moment, or am I out of the moment? There's two of them. There's two me's, you see. And that, says the Buddha, is the cause of our suffering. That split of two me's, both of which want to be one me. But they can't because they are two. You see, it's kind of like this, you see. There's two me's. One is in the river, one is outside the river. And we want to be one. That's our drive. Oh, Lord, let me be one, you see. But I can't because I've divided myself into two. And so even Jesus says, he says, I am in the world, but not of it. So that means he is in the river, but he's not standing outside watching it. So how do we get into the river? You see, how do we get into time without abstracting ourselves out to how you doing now, bud? You see, there's no how you're doing when you're in time, when you are time. When you are time, you're not thinking. As soon as you start thinking, you are in time again. You see, thinking is time. Thinking about time is time. Thinking is movement, and movement is time, so thinking is a psychological time. But our culture invests in that time. Our culture, you see, invests in time because it makes the industry run. It makes the whole economy runs on time. That's why you get this stupid daylight saving time, you see. So it doesn't mean you can't do without that cultural time, because you got to catch a bus and you got to make an appointment and all that, you see. But you can do that while being time. And you realize that even though you are thinking about time, you are not that time. You are time. And when you are time, you have all the time you need. You have all the time you need. Because this time is the only time possible. This moment is all the time of the whole cosmos in this moment. And that's plenty for anybody. Thanks for dropping in.